Guys, welcome to this week's video, and for this week's video I'm going to be doing a step-by-step guide on how to make a character in D&D. For those who've never made a character in D&D before, it can appear quite daunting to do so, especially when you look at the character sheet. For this example, we're going to be using the step-by-step guide provided to us through the player's handbook and use that to make a character for this video. So, step 1 is picking a race. There are a lot of races in D&D 5e. And for this example, we're going to be using a half-elf, and we're going to call her Rayla. So, picking a half-elf will give us some certain ability or racial ability improvements. So, half-elves get +2 to charisma and +1 to 2 other stats. We're going to make Rayla about 21 years old. We're going to make her about 5'5", meaning she's a medium-sized creature. Half-elves get a speed of 30 feet. They also get dark vision out to 60 feet, meaning you can see in low light out to 60 feet range. They also get the ability Fey Ancestry, which gives them advantage on saving throws against being charmed, as well as they get a thing called Skill Versatility, which will give them proficiency in 2 skills. For this example, we'll take Deception and Investigation. Languages, the half-elf get 3 languages, Common, Elvish, and 1 of your choice. And for this example, we're going to take Draconic. So now we're going to jump over to a character sheet and show where this information actually goes. So guys, this is the character sheet as I was discussing, and we've put Rayla's name here at the very top so we know what our character's name is and we can recall it when needed. We'll also put our race in here, half-elf, so we know what we are at all times. As well as that, the features that our race provide us, dark vision and Fey Ancestry can go in this features and traits box. As well as our speed of 30 feet goes in this box at the very top titled Speed. We've put our skill proficiencies, which we took were Deception and Investigation. We have ticked this little circle here and added our proficiency bonus to the rolls, so we know what we can add to our D20 roll when we make one of those checks. Lastly, in our other proficiencies and languages box, we've added in Common, Elvish, and Draconic for the languages we have chosen. So for step 2, guys, you're going to be choosing your class. Your class is what defines your character. It determines their abilities and their role in your party. There are 13 classes in D&D 5e, and each has their own subclasses which further differentiate them. Each class goes from level 1 to level 20. So for this example, we're going to make Rayla a level 1 fighter. Your class determines your amount of health or hit points you get and which hit dice you use to determine your hit points. The hit dice for a fighter is a D10, and at level 1 you get your maximum amount of hit points possible for that hit die, which for Rayla would be 10 plus her constitution modifier. When you gain more levels in fighter, your hit points will increase, and you can choose to either take the average of the hit die, which would be a 6 for a D10, or you can roll your D10 and take that number. Don't forget to add your constitution modifier though when you do increase your hit points when you level up. Your class also grants you a number of proficiencies. Skills and items that your class allow you to be good at. So, picking a fighter, you get proficiency in all armor types and shields, both simple and martial weapons, and you get proficiency in strength and constitution saving throws. Lastly, you gain proficiency in 2 of the following skills, should I say: acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. We'll take athletics and perception for this example. Finally, there is your proficiency bonus, which is a modifier that you add to attacks, ability checks, and saving throws that you are proficient in. And at this level, this modifier is +2, and it increases when you level up. So let's see where all this information goes on our character sheet. So guys, as you can see for fighter level 1, we've written that up here so we always know what our class is and what level we are. For our hit points, we get a D10, which we see here. We've put in our hit dice box, and we've only got 1 hit dice because we are level 1. Our maximum hit points would have been 10 plus our constitution modifier. Our constitution in this case was +2, so 10 plus 2 equals 12, and you can see here we got 12 of 12 hit points. It just looks easier, and it's easier for you to remember. As well as that, we've got a bunch of other proficiencies that we've decided to take, which would have been in strength and constitution saving throws, as well as we took athletics and perception. So we just remember to add our proficiency bonus to these rolls. And step 3, your ability scores. Your ability scores determine how good your character is at doing something, and there are 6 ability scores, each one representing one of your abilities, which are strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Now, to determine how we generate your stats, there are 3 methods you can choose from: point buy, rolling, or standard array. Make sure to confirm with your dungeon master which method they are using for their game, but for this example we'll be using standard array, and the numbers we will use are 15, 14, 13, 12, 10 and 8. And when we apply this to our character, because of the racial ability increases with a half elf, this is going to make our strength 16, our dex 14, our constitution 14, our intelligence 10, our wisdom 12 and our charisma 10. Each of these ability scores determine a different modifier, and these modifiers determine how much you add to a roll when you make an ability check. It is important to remember that if you are proficient in a skill, you get to add your proficiency bonus to that roll as well. So let's see where all these numbers go on your character sheet and how we actually calculate them. So our ability scores go in these boxes here on the left hand side. Now it's up to you whether you put the big number in the small box or the big number in the bigger box. I like to put the big number in the smaller ones because you rarely reference the large numbers, and instead you reference the small numbers a lot more, and so I feel it's better to have those to be a little clearer. Each of these scores represent the modifier you add to all these different rolls you would make. So you remember, for our strength saving throw, it would be +3, but because we got proficiency bonus, it becomes a +5. Likewise with our constitution, it would be +2, but because we have proficiency, it becomes +4. And as you can see here, all the different abilities that we can possibly make, the ones that are ticked, we've added our proficiency bonus to the modifier so we know what the increased modifier is for that roll. And then for the ones such as insight, which we've got no proficiency in, but because we still have a +1 to wisdom, we still get to add +1 to our insight check there. Lastly, a sneaky ability that can kind of sometimes go unnoticed is the passive perception or passive wisdom, and how you calculate this is 10 plus your ability score for wisdom plus your proficiency if you are proficient in perception, and because we are, our passive perception is 13. Now step 4, describing your character. This section is to determine what your character is like. Are they brave or cowardice? Are they strong-willed or are they a pushover? First, you have your alignment. Now in my experience, alignment does not play a key role in most characters, but it can be a good guide for how your character might behave or what they're willing to do to achieve their goal. We will make Rayla chaotic good, which typically means she would act without caring what others think of her decisions. Next is your background. This determines what sort of origins your character had, and there are plenty of choices. For Rayla, we're going to make her a noble. Your background grants you more skill proficiencies, tool proficiencies, languages, and some equipment that is associated with your chosen background. It also grants you a feature that is unique to that background you chose, which for noble is position of privilege. Now, if you're struggling to come up with some aspects that make your character unique, there are examples of a personal trait, an ideal, a bond and a flaw that your character might have, all within your background. So if you can't choose one, they give you examples, making it easier. And let's see where these last features actually go on your character sheet. So for describing our character, the alignment we took was chaotic good, which you can see we've written there, and the background we took was noble. Noble obviously provided us with a bunch of equipment which you can easily put on these separate pages should you choose. Don't forget that it gave us the position of privilege feature, which we've put in that feature and traits box. I've left these boxes blank, your personality traits, your ideals, your bonds and your flaws, because these kind of determine how your character behaves and what they are like in social interactions, and so you can put the different ones there, and there are tables tied to each background that you can choose one of them to put in each one of these boxes. So step 5 is your equipment. Each class offers a selection of equipment that your character can pick to start off with. For Rayla, we will take chainmail armor, which makes our armor class 16. This determines how difficult it is for a character to be hit with an attack. We'll also take a longsword and then a shield, which will increase our armor class by 2 to a total of 18. We then get a selection of a few more weapons and some sort of pack, and we will take an explorer's pack. Now let's see how we calculate weapons attacks and damages and our armor class. Step 6 is your features. At level 1, a fighter gets 2 features, a fighting style and second wind. There's a selection of fighting styles available. Each style makes your character better at a certain aspect of fighting. For Rayla, we will take the defense fighting style, which increases our armor class by 1 while we're wearing armor. This will bring us to a total of 19. Second Wind is our feature that allows you to regain 1d10 plus your fighter level hit points as a bonus action, and you can use this feature once per short rest or long rest. These features will vary depending on what class you pick, so make sure you get the right ones and you find a class and features that work for you. For equipment, our armor class has become 19, which you can see here in the top of this box. In this top box, it's shaped like a shield. We get 19 because we have the chainmail, which gives us an armor class of 16, as well as a shield, which would put it up to 18, and we took the fighting style defense, which gives us an additional +1 to our AC, and you can see we put fighting style down here in the features and traits section so we don't forget about it. I should point out right now that this +2 from initiative comes from your dexterity modifier. So whatever your dexterity modifier is, that is your initiative. Lastly, Second Wind is the other feature we got, and so we've put that in this feature and traits box. As well as the armor classes and your initiative and these extra features, I've put here, you can see the different attacks and the modifiers associated for our weapons. So for our longsword, we get +5 to attack with it because it is a strength based weapon. So we add our strength modifier, and because we are proficient in it, we add our proficiency bonus as well. So it gives us a +5 to hit with our sword. You can see here I've put D8/D10. This basically, which one you choose, depends on how many hands your character is holding their sword with. So if you're only holding it with one hand, it'll be a D8 damage, but if you're holding it with both hands, it'll be a D10, and then you get a +3 to the damage because that's what our strength modifier is. The longbow works very similarly, except you use your dexterity because it is a ranged weapon. So instead of +5, we get a +4 because that comes from +2. Our dexterity is a +2, and then our +2 proficiency. And similarly, we've got a D8, and that should be a +2. I don't know why I have +3, but it would be a D8 +2 damage. Step 7 is spellcasting. So obviously Rayla being a fighter, she wouldn't have access to spellcasting, but say we made Rayla a wizard instead. There are a couple of different features for us to go over, so depending on the class you chose, it will determine what ability you use for that spellcasting. It could be your intelligence if you choose a wizard or an artificer, your wisdom if you choose a druid, cleric or ranger, or charisma if you choose a warlock, a paladin, a sorcerer or a bard. Each class dictates the number of spells you know, so it varies from class to class. You do need to know your spell save DC and your spell attack modifier. Your spell save DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your spellcasting ability, so it'll either be wisdom, intelligence or charisma. And your spell attack modifier equals your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence, wisdom or charisma. Once again, it depends on which class you choose will determine which ability score you use. For spellcasting, this is the third sheet on this PDF, which I will have linked in the description. You can see here there is a huge spellcasting sheet which you can fill in with a number of spells, however many your class allows you. So for this example, we've chosen wizard, and a wizard has intelligence as its spellcasting ability. So for this example, let's say we swapped Rayla's intelligence and her strength scores, making her intelligence 16 and her strength 10. In that case, our spell save will become 13 because that is 8 plus our proficiency of 2 plus our intelligence modifier, which is 3, giving us a grand total of 13. Like our attack with our longsword, our spell attack bonus is our spellcasting ability modifier, which is +3 thanks to our intelligence, plus our proficiency, which gives us a +5. Now, I know that's a lot of information to take in, but that is how you make a character in D&D 5e. You should try to make a character unique and something that you enjoy playing. There are hundreds of combinations of races and classes and backgrounds that you can mix together to create something you truly enjoy. I really hope this video is helpful for those who have never made a character before or have been struggling to actually make one themselves. Guys, if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, make sure you leave a like, and to see more content like this, please hit the subscribe button and make sure to turn notifications on, that way you'll never miss another video. Now guys, what I want you to do is go out there, make your first character and go on your first adventure, and I'll see you all in the next video.